Justice Thomas specifically says in his concurring opinion that he would welcome the opportunity for the court to revisit Griswold versus Connecticut about contraceptives, Lawrence versus Texas, Obergefell versus Hodges about same-sex marriage. And the liberals point out that he's right. I mean, Justice Alito's majority opinion, Erica, goes out of its way to say that nothing in the court's analysis directly implicates those other rights. But it's hard to take that seriously when the gravamen of the majority's analysis is that there's no constitutional right to an abortion because there's no deeply rooted historical tradition of protecting a woman's right to choose. If that's the test, if that's the linchpin, it's hard to see why those other rights couldn't be on the chopping block. And Erica, if that's not the test, then as the dissent points out, the majority is being completely hypocritical.
So, Laura, taking all that into account, our colleague Jeffrey Toobin said a short time ago, he sees this setting up a legal civil war. I would imagine that those efforts are probably already, ready to go to start that process. What should people be bracing for, Laura?
Well, when this draft legal opinion came down, people thought the writing was on the wall, and here it is, clear as day. It's going to be legal chaos. You're going to have interstate battles about how you're going to enforce these laws, let alone the very obvious notion that, as the majority opinion stated, that apparently stare decisis is not a straitjacket. That's a quote from the majority opinion. The notion here instead that you're not held to these notions because you have the opportunity to diverge from them. Now, it's true, over the course of history, there have been opinions that have been overturned. Plessy versus Ferguson, for example. There have been wrongly decided decisions, and the court should be able to be nimble to do so. But the basis and foundationally for why they did so here is not as clear at all. And why? Well, there are 50 years worth where people, that means me, my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother generation, all able to have a right where we woke up this morning having and no longer have because the Supreme Court has decided there is no real right for women to have those choices at the moment of contraception, or the moment of conception, And, as a prosecutor, Erica, I can't help but wonder, how do you intend for these laws to be enforced? Is there no doctor-patient confidentiality provision any longer? Are you intending for, in those courts where you're trying to enforce these laws, you're going to be able to have access to medical records or interrogate people in the office of the receptionist or the doctor about someone's menstruation? The womb is actually the site of the so-called crime. So whatever law would be enforced would have to be intrusive and invasive in trying to figure out what has happened there. There are a number of prosecutors already who are saying they will not go forward with prosecutions on these cases. But you have to wonder, it's one thing to have the law, the trigger laws that will be there, more than 18 states by the end of the summer likely to have abortion wholly illegal. But how does one enforce this with also taking into consideration one's other privacy interests in the law? It's going to be legal chaos. Forget the legal civil war. It will be impossible to truly carry out.